I'm not going to get all through all the questions we ask or anything like that, but I'll give you a sense of what you should be asking. One of the first things that we do is we start with the knockout questions. Our clients will let us know what that is. We know what ours is. Most of our clients say you got to have a driver's license or we can't hire you. When they answer no in our application tracking system, it automatically disqualifies them. D, big old D, disqualify. So those are your knockout questions. Have to be authorized to work in the USA. The second set of questions.
Let me hit you with this because I haven't seen
Sure.
this one before. Like I know we ask them if they're a veteran. Is it 100 if they're a yes or a no? Is it just like a question that we ask so we know?
It's a question that I like to ask because of the WOTC, the working tax credits that the government, and we're going to probably have that conversation on Facebook Live in the next week or so.
Ooh, I'll make some snakes for that.
Yeah, there's the federal government has a what form number is that again? Do you remember 1098 or something like that? So WOTC tax credit, and the government.
Oh, WOTC.
Yeah. So the government basically says, here's a certain amount or a certain segment of our population that we will give you back a credit on your taxes if you hire this person. And military veterans are part of that group. If you hire a vet and they're with you for a certain amount of time, the government will give you a tax credit on your tax return. And so that's one of the reasons that I like to ask that. The next set of questions and screening. So if you think about it too, Dan, we're screening within the screening in different ways, right? So I'm showing you in general how we screen, but there's like the first set of screening in the screening is the knockout questions. The next set of screening in the screening process in general is this. Which one of these three things would upset you the most? Questions. Okay. Which one of these three things?
I love the. I mean, when I was like in school and there was like the multiple choice or the son of a bitch, there's no right answer. Like I know there's no right answer. Like, what's the least worst answer? I hated those.
Yes.
But now that I'm on the other side of them, I love them.
So I came up with these questions for a couple reasons, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the data behind this question. Okay. And then I'm going to tell you, after 20 years of being in this gig, what my gut tells me too. And then I'm going to tell you what a common denominator is with this type of human being that answers this way. It's super powerful stuff. This is one question. So when I had a company in Cleveland, I had at one time like 40 technicians that were part-time, full-time. And I used to hire every now and again, more times than not, I would hire a human being that was this great human being and a great employee. 3 months later, they turned into this Frankenstein human being and a horrible employee. And they were bitching about things that I knew. I told you this was going to be part of the job. So I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't that be cool if we can find out what somebody's going to bitch and complain about before we hire them? That's in part what these sets of questions do. Which one of these three things would upset you the most if you got this job? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to bitch about if I get this job. That's just a beautiful thing to know. Okay.
I like the way, I mean, that's the real question. I just like the way you get around asking that so they don't really know the question they're answering.
Exactly.
That's what you're asking them.
That's it. You'll notice a 20 next to that answer right here for this particular one. My paycheck's off by $30. So remember, this person is online filling out an application. And one of the questions is, which one of these three things would upset you the most if you got this job? They choose A, B, or C. They don't tell us what they want to put. It's either A, B, or C. The worst answer gets a 20. The answer, okay, gets a 60. The best answer gets a 100. The really interesting thing is I went through this is that a couple of these on the surface look like a very reasonable thing to complain about. I mean, my paycheck's wrong. That's reasonable, right? You would think. That's not what the data shows, though. The data shows this one. On which one of these three things would upset you the most if you got this job? Those that answered my paycheck is off by $30, okay? Those that answered that way, which is the lowest score, on average last about 10 months or less with our company. Okay. That's the data.
They're
When
just they're just like they get hung up on irrelevant stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what the common denominator is, because what I did was I talked to a bunch of people that answered this way that used to work for us, some that still worked for us, and then talked to like Tina and some managers out there about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then so the data is 11 months or less on average. The common denominator of this human being is this is the employee that always pits the owner versus the employee. It's sort of like a union mentality. And I got plenty of uncles in the union. Unions are fine. I'm not saying that, but they're the ones that bring back a bunch of checks, or they are handing customers invoices and go, did you see how much that he's making? These guys are making millions of dollars and look at what they're paying us. And then they're going around and telling everybody in the office that. That's why that common denominator comes up. So we talked about the data, 11 months or less on average. We talked about the common denominator of it, right? So we've identified the common denominator of the human being. So this is what my gut tells me after talking to a lot of people about this, a lot of past employees.